That's hilarious. So my mic has been off this whole time. Damn it. Thank you, Chris. This is why you're here. This is why you're here. I appreciate you so much. Whoops. Okay, so you just got a mime interpretation of everything. That's cool. Well, I guess I might as well retell you everything that I was just saying because you clearly didn't hear it the first time. I had my mic on mute. So, let me quickly run through what I already had stated. We are drinking my London Fog with Earl Grey tea and vanilla coffee mate powder. So it's not a latte because there's no froth milk, but it's my cheap way to get that vibe without having to put all the effort in. I painted my nails to match my street or to match my cross stitch. I showed you all in the frame, so you can go back and rewatch it, but basically I took some of the colors and I swatched them to my nails, and I was really excited about it. And I took a bunch of photos from my Instagram, which I very rarely post on, but that was a reason to post. So I took the frame, the cryptids, out of their hoop. So I put it back in there. We've selected our needle minder out of all the needle minders that that I showed you. We talked about orts. That's what these are. I couldn't tell you what that means. I know it's like a short form for something in the stitching community. And I'm excited to stitch with a new color of thread that isn't black. Okay. I think that's everything. Oh. Yeah. I think because I go onto my my starting screen and I want to mute it so that there's nothing going on in the background because I'm like rustling around trying to sort myself out, trying to sort the puppo out, that I don't need you to hear me, you know, jankily sorting shit out. And I always mute, so I mute the mic for that reason. And so it sounds like I forgot to turn it on. That's another thing I need to add to my mental checklist of things to do before stream. It's get tea, update stream info, put the loading screen on, have snack, sort shadow out, and now unmute my mic. Hopefully that's better now. Okay, Fresno Nightcrawlers, aka Haunted Pants. There we go. Let's get into it. So I already started it just so that I wasn't having to do like super super mind games or super brain overthinking stuffs. As soon as we started. So I did the first few lines so I could just jump right into it and not have to worry about it. Perfect. I'm glad. Thank you so much. Go make those bucks. Go make those big bucks. Hey! You found me. I'll stick you here. That might be a little bit easier. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. Now I can read what's going on. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. There we go. Now I can see what's going on. How exciting. Super sleuthy skills. Hope you're doing all right on this bit chillier day. Though I feel like when I was mid-walk today. It got so much warmer, I guess, because every time the sun starts to go down, you find like you're getting a lot more direct sun contact on you. So, yeah, warm up. But, yeah. I'm so happy you're here. All right. So, are you at work right now? Because if you are, that makes a lot of sense, because that would mean that you are out in a warehouse. I think the thing too, it's so funny because my mom used to make fun of me when I told her that I was cold here, because she was like, it's not minus 25 here like it is in Canada. But then when she came to visit, she ate her words, because she was like, because it's so humid here, so it's like the moisture content of the cold is much worse. So, yeah, like it gets, like you said, you're frozen to the bone, because like the cold humidity like literally gets into your body, I feel, so much more than like a dry cold does. So my mom was quite shocked that she had to bundle up while she was here. Mind you, it was November, so it wasn't like crazy, but obviously November in Canada, it's already like minus negative degrees and stuff. It was pretty wild here. We woke up to -1 Celsius. I'm sure everybody that I know in Canada is like, you can shut up right now. They have actually in Ontario right now, there's like a giant snowstorm. And like where I'm from, because I'm from more north, it's like people still aren't very smart about it, but there's an understanding that like we're going to get a fuck ton of snow at some point. You don't normally get that more southern places like Toronto. And so they recently had like a massive storm, and no one knows how to drive, and things are, slowing down, and stuff is getting stuck, which is very reminiscent to when a leaf falls on the train tracks here in London, or, when we get the tiniest amount of snowfall here. It's like everybody forgets how to drive, even when it rains, and like it rains here a lot, and people don't know how to drive in the rain. But, yeah. So, yeah, it was all frosty today. I don't know, because I had mentioned before we were having some construction going on in our back garden. And so they laid a concrete foundation today. So I'm not sure if, like, in terms of curing concrete, if it's better if it's cold out or if it's warm. Like, because I don't know, I think I'm of two minds, because I'm so used to, like, my brain thinks, okay, if it's really, really hot, then stuff melts. Therefore, it's harder to set. I don't think of, like, oh, the sun's beating down on something, like, that will make it dry quicker. It makes me, like, my brain thinks, oh, no, it's going to run. Like, when you put paint on a wall. I'm like, oh, no, it's going to take longer to dry because it's going to melt. And it's like, no, bitch, that's not how it works. Whereas, yeah, and then, of course, in my brain, I'm like, okay, when it's cold, it's freezing, so it'll freeze, and therefore it'll solidify, ergo dry faster. But, like, that's not how that shit works either. So, I don't know. Okay. Cool. Sorry. Just making sure I keep track, because these pants are going to have eyes. These haunted pants are going to have eyeballs, so I need to provide space for those eyeballs to occur. All right. Again, what is this music? It's not... It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So now that we're established, we're stitching, my mic is on, stuff is good. Let me explain the shenanigans that have occurred in the last 12 hours. I think between 12, less than 24, but more than 12 hours, maybe like 18 hours. So all of this has to do with this little so-and-so who's sleeping very peacefully right now. Oh no, you can't really see him. There you go. So this little mister thought it would, well, let me paint the scene for you. This is happening in multiple parts. So first part, because we have construction going on in our back garden, we don't, like, Shadow doesn't have full reign of the backyard like he usually does. So right now there's sort of like it's our old fence paneling, but it's kind of just, the builders had arranged it in a way where it's kind of leaned up against each other. So it's not like it's solidly put in the ground, but Shadow's usually pretty good about, if there is a barrier in his way, he will stop. He has the capacity to jump over stuff. I don't want him to become that self-aware. I know that that's possible, but 100%, like, we have baby gates in my in-laws' house, and we use them to separate, like, if we're doing something in the kitchen and we kind of need Shadow out of the way or whatever. Or just, like, if the doorbell rings and we need to make sure that he doesn't go out that way, like, we'll close it. 100%, if he tried hard enough, he could totally jump over it. But he doesn't. He just is like, oh, there's a barrier, I need to stop. Cool. So last night, I don't know if he accidentally, like, hit it and it fell over, or something, and part of the fence fell down. And so we didn't clock that had happened, and we were like, oh, like, Shadow's been outside for a long time, like, where is he? And then we noticed that part of the fence had fallen over, and we were like, shit. So my partner, Liam, he rushed outside. We started calling him. Luckily, he had just gone, like, into the alleyway. So we could still see him, and it was so easy to call him back, and it was fine. I think, luckily, he didn't see any foxes, because they're quite prevalent around here. We're basically calling them, they're basically the raccoons of London. And every night, I think because we dug, a bunch of stuff out, like, basically dug a hole in the backyard. I think all the grubs are, like, there's lots of worms, lots of bugs, things like that. So they have been frequenting the garden in search of those things. And so it's been setting him off every night. He basically, like, sits on the sofa with a through line to the backyard and loses his shit when he sees pretty much anything, but especially when he sees foxes. So luckily, that was fine. But yeah, so that was part one of the multi-level saga that is my evening last night. But to answer your question, Chris, the building is going very well. So they spent, I think, a day, I want to say a day and a half maybe, knocking everything down and then digging everything up, because we're basically knocking down our existing garage and shifting everything back into our garden. We have to do a bit of, the builders have to do a bit of digging out. And I guess whoever, made these initial sort of landscaping choices and building choices before we moved in really, like, went OTT with it. Like, the concrete, we had, like, a barbecue pit area, and that was, like, filled with a bunch of leftover concrete. There was, like, metal rebar in, like, the retaining wall foundations and stuff like that. So these poor builders had to, like, really put a bunch of elbow grease in to take all that stuff out. But they did, and it's going quite well. So today they, laid the cement foundation, or concrete foundation. So hopefully that will dry tomorrow. And then yeah, it should start coming together. It's interesting because obviously you don't kind of want to pry, like, oh, how many, like, how long is it going to take? Like, you kind of want a rough estimate. We're kind of speculating that it's probably going to take about a month. And they started on the 10th. So the fact that, you know, they've gotten quite a bit done so far is cool. Like, it's promising. Not that, like, we're not in a super rush. Obviously, it would be ideal because then, you know, Shadow could have his garden back. We could have our space back for our car, that kind of stuff. But there isn't, like, a super sense of urgency for it. But it's so funny because obviously now they've laid the concrete, but the way that our garage is designed, or the way that our back garden is designed, it kind of has levels. So we have like a patio, and then you walk down into like the green space, and then you walk down a bit further, and there's like a barbecue pit area, and then you go into the garage. So they obviously had to bring everything back, so they cut into the garden, and there's no like steps, there's just kind of like, you know, so that they can get up and down. So it just looks like we had have a giant pit in the back, especially now before they poured the concrete. Now that the concrete's down, it's like raised it up a little bit. But I said to Liam, I was like, my partner, I was like, oh, we should just, like, it just reminds you of like a scene from 300. Like, we could just like boot people off the side of our garden into this giant pit. So that was a fun little visual. But again, I don't think it wasn't as deep as it sort of looked, because again, like I said, Shadow escaped last night, and then when we called him back, he just like, you know, jumped out of this crater and back into the house. So like I said, there's some times where he harnesses the power of his very springy legs. And there's other times where, you know, if there's a physical barrier, he's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere. So, continuing on the saga, is one of the things that we've noticed, which is different than, so basically, like, my in-laws had a dog. He sadly passed away last year, and he would, sorry, we're going to be talking about poop now. Anyway, so he would poop in the center of his garden, and then he would walk around it, because he was smart, and he would be like, this is where I've pooped, I'm going to make sure I walk around where I've pooped. Shadow, on the other hand, thinks that the whole garden is his oyster. That's fine, cool, whatever. We're not, like, back there enough for it to matter. But then he also gets his little puppy zoomies and runs around and forgets where he's pooped. So he then steps in it and then brings it into the house. So I told him we had an agreement that his New Year's resolution was going to be that he stopped stepping in his own poop and bringing it into the house. And that was the agreement. And I was saying to Liam, like, I think the fact that he doesn't have the full garden to do all of his super zoomies is actually making a difference in his ability to not step in his own poop. And he will, you know, be more strategic because he can't, you know, get as crazy with it. But then last night, you know, we let him out, whatever. Liam had to go to work, so he was going to bed early. So I was just, like, lying on the sofa. I've been watching, like, a bunch of stand-up comedy specials just to pass the time because they're short. And Shadow comes in. I'm like, cool, think nothing of it. Because, you know, he's gone outside. He's done really great. We had an agreement. There was no reason for me to suspect otherwise. So he goes upstairs. He, like, jumps in our bed. He goes to see what Liam's up to. He basically goes to every single room in the house that he likes to hang out in. And then comes back downstairs. And I'm laying down on the sofa, and he jumps up to see me. And I'm like, something smells. And I look on the sofa, and there's a giant shit smear on the sofa. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thinking, you know, and not even realizing. But yeah, So not only did Shadow not uphold his resolution bargain, this was the worst instance of it, because usually, because we were getting wise to it, we would like barricade him in the kitchen, do the sniff test. We bought this thing online on Amazon called this like mud buster that you like, it kind of looks like a glorified fleshlight, but it's not. It's this like phalange silicone thing that you stick the dog's paw in, and it like, gets all the debris out. So we got that, and that was working really well. And yeah, I think things were going great. But then this one last night, not only was it literally all over the house, I stuck his foot in that fucking thing like 5 times, and it still didn't come out clean. Because I don't know if because dogs' paws are very, I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's like because they're partially webbed or whatever, but they almost are like this. And then there's like a little gap like in here, and then they have all their feet or whatever. And so he, like, usually too, it's like if he gets it on his foot, it's like the front or it's on his nails or whatever. No. He got it all up in whatever the hell this part of his foot is. So I had to then proceed to like scrape it out of his foot, try to wash it off his foot, then check. And then, I must have made him give me his paw like 12 times to try to sort all of this out. And yeah, and then we had to basically wash every single surface of the house. Luckily, because we know he likes blankets and stuff, we have a lot of quilts and things like on the ground, on the sofa, like on different stuff like that. So we could just scoop up all of those blankets and shove them in the washing machine, which was helpful, but it was still a pain in the ass to do. Because Shadow also hates having his front paws touched, just his paws touched in general, even on a good day, let alone when it is of the utmost importance that I get access to this paw. So, yeah. Are you awake? Yeah? Are you here to confess your sins? Yeah? Oh, a big stretch. Yeah, it's a hard life being a puppy. But, so luckily, he's been a very good boy today to make up for those shenanigans. Oh. So, yes, of course, everything got sorted. That was fine. Whatever. So we're washing all of these quilts, right? And so I have basically like call it like a t-shirt memory quilt. So all of these like t-shirts I had growing up from childhood that like had meaning to them, like band t-shirts, things like that, my mom took, and we cut them, like all the graphics and stuff out, and sewed them onto a quilt. So it's like a memory quilt sort of thing. And so that was one of the ones that I was with. Like, I had that one last night when Shadow decided to come greet me. So I was, like, taking no chances. If there's poop on this, I need to wash this as well. And I guess one of the shirts, it was a graphic from a shirt from my, like, teenage boyfriend. So I would say, like, high school, but it was, like, high school into university. So he was in a band in secondary school, high school. And so it was called Fubar. And I didn't want to tell him that there already was a Canadian band named Fubar, but whatever. So him and his friends had this band. And I don't know, I think it was the singer or somebody. They had a friend who wasn't in the band who designed this logo for them. And then they got it printed on shirts. And so this is on my memory quilt. Like, it ended, well, it didn't end the greatest. It ended poorly kind of on my part. But we're fine now. Like, everything is chill. We've made amends. Obviously. You know, he's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. But it turns out that this shirt must be made of, like, the shittiest vinyl decal. Because when I pulled all of the blankets and stuff out that I had washed from I keep wanting to say dishwasher, the washing machine, it had all come off in chunks. This, like, vinyl sticker had come off, like, vinyl decal had come off in chunks and then proceeded to scatter itself like confetti all over the washing machine and all over everything else that was in there. So luckily, it wasn't, like, permanently fused to any of the clothes, so I could just shake it off, in the immortal words of Taylor Swift. But it, like, part of it kind of fused itself to the drum of the washing machine. So maybe this is some karma for how shitty I ended my high school relationship. Like I said, though, we're all fine. So karma is, like, you know, many, many years too late. But so I spent a good 15 minutes. I thought I was going to be so clever. I was like, I'm going to get a lint roller and I'm going to, like, lint roll the inside and it'll come off. Well, you lint roll things that are flat. Things that are bumpy and round and stuff. Like, it doesn't work. So I had to take it and, like, stick... I don't know, like, you know, you basically make yourself, like, a little bracelet or, like, a little ring of tape, and you proceed to just, like, stick it to stuff to try to pull it away from something else. Yeah, so I spent a good chunk of my morning with my head in the washing machine, cleaning out all of this stupid vinyl. So, a lesson to all of you people, in a band or otherwise... If you design a band shirt or, a shirt in general, make sure it's of a quality that allows the person who owns it to wash it. Because, yeah, fuck you if you don't, because it's such a pain in the butt to clean up afterwards. But, yeah. So that's been... the last 18 hours of my life. But, all in all, it's not been that bad. Sorry, just closing off this thread here. We win some, we lose some. Oh, and I guess another thing, too. So I've talked to, a few things, but I've talked a little bit about why I do this and what stitching means to me and how I find it helps with my anxiety management, my mental health management. And how I've, my various struggles and such with things. So today I had to put on my big girl pants. Or my adulting glasses, my adulting shirts. And it's so dumb, but so basically, we were getting the concrete poured today. So the builder knocked on the door and was like, hey, do you have the neighbor's number? Because we want them to move their car before we pour the concrete because we don't want it to, like, splash onto their car. Which is very considerate of them. Very nice. I don't have the neighbor's numbers. We, like, chat over the fence. Shadow, like, says hello to them. They have a dog, too, a little French bulldog. So Shadow can smell him but can't see him. So they spend really fun, like, forbidden interactions between the fence. But I was like, oh, shit. Like, I don't know what their number is. Like, I don't, and then... So silly. Like, logically, I get it silly. But when somebody is like, oh, I need you to sort this thing out... I suddenly, like, got super panicky. Like, oh my god, I don't know. Like, I need to get it done instantly. They're gonna pour it now. If I don't sort it out, like, shit's gonna hit the fan. Oh my goodness. Obviously, it was fine. I knocked on the door and was like, hey, can you move their car? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, they're super nice neighbors. But, yeah, like, just having to do something that I can't fix myself and has to be reliant on somebody else is really stressful for me. I think that's why, like, a lot of times when I don't know, like sometimes it's just easier to do things yourself because then it's just done and you know it's done. But in those instances, it's like I can't move their car. So they have to answer the door and they have to say yes. I hope that they do. And so, yeah. But I did, and it was fine, and everything is great, and the concrete's poured, and now it's all setting. But for, you know, a brief 15 seconds, and then I couldn't find my phone because I wanted to contact Liam, and I was like, what do? I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I don't know their number, like, sort it out. And I'm like, yeah! Yeah, so I couldn't find my phone, so that also was an added trigger of like, well, fuck. But we sorted it out, and everything was fine. Okay, enjoy the rest of, well, don't enjoy the rest. Well, yeah, work hard. I hope you have a good rest of your shift, and we'll see you soon. I'm going to be streaming till 5, so if you finish work before then or you charge your phone before then, pop back in and see me. Please and thank you. Bye. I don't know how big of a lag there is between chat and me because I was trying to sort out my video settings. So I've put things on like, I've taken off like low latency mode and stuff like that in order to not overload my system. So I don't know. I'll have to time it. I'm not sure how, because I obviously get the message instantly on my like stream manager, but I don't know between me seeing it, me saying something, and then you on the other end hearing my response to it. I don't know how long that takes. We'll have to do a test someday. But yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. So if I don't respond to you right away, it's because I am responding to you right away. It's that my settings are... Oh. I'm trying not to overwhelm my laptop so I can continue to stream on this section and not having to move my setup because I like my little crafting corner. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but we're getting a face. This is the head of our first of 3. So we're gonna have 3 night crawlers on this page when it's all done. Okay, dokie. On to the next. Yeah, okay. Sleepy time, dude. Let's try to get... Hopefully, we can get at least one of the 3 pants men sorted beforehand. Because we've already been streaming for 20 minutes, and I feel like it's gone by very quickly. I guess that's what happens when I have, you know, plenty of stories to share from the last 18 hours. Hopefully things are good. I'm actually very interested to know... Oh, it'll be very interesting to see if the concrete that's been laid in our back garden gets any fox or cat prints in them before it fully sets. Because you always see them, right? Like, you know, when you're walking on the pavement or something, and you can always, like, I think there's one, like, on the route that I take with Shadow where there is, like, a cat paw or something, like, that's dried into the concrete. Because that's just what... they do. They're like, I'm in my, this, you know, I don't know if they're light enough or whatever. They can just like walk through that shit. So yeah, I'm interested to see if that happens or if the foxes, I wonder if they could get stuck in the cement. I hope they don't, because I don't want to have to be the one to deal with that. And that would be really sad. But yeah, I think it'll be really funny if we have little paw prints on the floor of our garage. Because there's actually quite a few around, actually, like outdoor cats that we see, but there's one that lives in our, like, on our block, and it's like an orange colored cat. And it's funny because, like, the other neighbors kind of in the area tell us that, like, you don't fuck with that cat. Like, that cat will go toe-to-toe with foxes and stuff. So every time we see it when I'm walking Shadow, I'm like, let's give it some space. Like, let's not. Last thing I want is for him to get, like, his face all cut up. But, so we just, because it's still a few blocks down, like, I think where it lives. So I didn't think anything of it, but then our patio in the back garden has, like, this railing, and it's, like, this sort of creamy grayish color. And sometimes Shadow pops up on it when he wants to say hello to one of our neighbors. So not the side where he can pop up on the fence, but the other side. And so I was like, oh, like, that's probably why it's dirty. It's from him. But then we noticed that the paw prints were much smaller, and they were, like, across the whole length of it. We're like, that's not him. So it could either, well, usually the instinct is like, oh, the foxes are back. Like, they're the ones, because they'll walk right in front because that's where our, like, green waste is, or they'll use, like, different platforms to jump up and over fences. And then we saw him. We saw that orange cat just, like, you know, slinking across our yard like it just, you know, owned the place. So he does walk a lot far. I think he probably does the whole strip, like the whole chunk of our street, which is wild because that means he covers quite a bit of ground. So there must be, and considering that there's, you know, many foxes that come up and down the street as well, there must be some spicy turf wars, which might explain, like, I don't know if you've ever heard, well, I don't know if you know what it is you're hearing, but if you're ever, you know, around London, even, I don't even know if I've ever heard this in Canada as well, but basically, fox mating season, I think, is probably on par, if not worse, than, like, what I hear about cat mating season, like when cats are in heat and all they do is, like, shriek and stuff. Like, the only way I can describe it is if you pictured, like, mythical banshees, like, screeching at each other for, like, 10 minutes at a time. That's what it sounds like. And it happens in the evening, so you're sitting there relaxing, having a nice cup of tea before bed, and you just hear this banshee screeching. Those are foxes. It's very interesting. I didn't know anything about that until we moved here. Okay. I think I might. No. I was like, oh, maybe. No, I think I will. Because I have 2 little eye holes for him. Once I finish this thread, I think it'll look really, like, it'll just look more visually interesting if we stick his beady little eyes in there. So what else has been going on? Again, just this is just like the me talk about my dog hour. Like, again, because I don't leave the house because, you know, pandemic stuff. There's only so much interesting shit that's going on in my life, and most of it revolves around my dog. So, sorry, not sorry. That's the majority of the content you're gonna get. But we take him to a. Well, you're rearranging. We take him to this, like, play group every week, and I think I was explaining this before, and how there's, like, trampolines and, like, play parks, like little agility things and stuff like that. And so there's these platforms, and they're all, like, built up on tires, and so it was really muddy the day that we went, because obviously, you know, it's England, it rains all the time. And Shadow was running full ham. You know, he's mostly greyhound, so he's fast. between being slippery, being young, his inability to decelerate on a dime and turn on a dime, he really struggles with that. He full-on Tokyo drifted his booty into a stack of tires. And luckily, he's fine, thankfully. Like, he's good. But when he hurts himself, honestly, like, your heart breaks because he lets out these blood-curdling yelps. And, you know, there was about, I want to say 15 other, like, people with their dogs and stuff. And their heads all whipped towards where the sound is. The people who organized this came rushing over, like, just checking on him. Like, really, really great. Like, I'm glad they were doing that. But, yeah, so that was really scary. Because you just, like, oh, no. I disconnected. That's not good. Oh, dear. That's weird. Are we back? Well, that's never happened before. I'm counting this as not my fault this time. I don't know what happened. That's annoying. Okay, well, apparently we disconnected for a hot minute, so welcome back. That's annoying. So what was I saying before everything dropped out? Yeah, Shadow hurt himself on when we went to doggy group, which was really scary. Because again, like, you hear this, like, basically the most heartbreaking whimpers, and you just think that it's the end of the world. But yeah, by the end of it, he was walking, like, he walked it off, he was running around, everything was great. But that's something that actually, when we were doing research, once we found out that Shadow was mostly greyhound, all sighthound, you know, we were doing research into those breeds, and it turns out that they are quite accident prone. Do I need to frog? Damn it. This was too far. Wah, wah. Okay. Time to rip it. I was thinking about, when I'm able to, like, what sort of emotes I would want to make. And I definitely think I need to make, like, a rip it one or a frog one, because that's the majority of, well, I foresee that happening a lot on these streams, is me having to rip it. Luckily, though, I've not had to, like, fully seam rip any of my stitches before. I've just been able to get away with pulling them out like this. I say that, watch, now that I've said it. It's gonna have a problem. There we go. I think it just got twisted. But yeah, so I've not had to, like, physically rip it in the sense of having to get, like, a seam ripper out. I can usually just, like, unweave it. But I just think that would be a really cute emote. And then when it happens, you know, when you fuck up, that's what you can use to signify it, is a rip it emote. Just spitballing ideas here. in my continued journey of how to Twitch. Not that I was saying to Liam, I was like, oh, like I did these things, but I don't know if I'm ever actually gonna get to see them in action. But I made alerts, so I have alerts for like new followers and stuff like that, which is really fun and exciting. Little animated things. So I don't know. I think it'll be really exciting when one gets activated, but I don't know when that will be. I guess that's kind of cool though. Like keeps you on your toes a little bit, and then it's like a fun little exciting. Like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. There we go. So I did a half stitch too far out, and I didn't need to. So now we're back. We're back on schedule. Had to delay what I was doing. There was another Cryptid release last week. So again, we're falling further and further behind. But that's all right. Because it doesn't really matter. There's some people that are just starting out. They've like finished their frames, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely, that's something that I find really cool about these stitch alongs, is that it's not a race. It's just, a way to feel connected to people, and everybody's kind of moving at their own space, like at their own speed, at their own time. Like that's really cool. But yeah, so there's been another release. I think the 8th. No, this is the 18th. I think there's 2 more. Based on, like, I'm trying to visualize, because I've seen the pic, like, every time there's a new one added, the Witchy Stitcher will release, like, the photo, like, kind of what the whole thing's gonna look like, and it looks like there's space for 2 more, so I think there's only 2 more, and then by the end of January, all of them will be released, and so then, I guess, the stitch along will technically be over in terms of the actual like releasing of patterns and stuff, but we will still be continuing on our progress. I'm actually really enjoying this because like I've been working on other projects and patterns and things aside from, trying to crack this frame out before this week. I really like that, I know once a week for 2 hours a day, 2 hours once a week, I'll be working on this. Because I think sometimes, especially if you have lots of projects on the go or lots of different things like I do. I sound like I have such a busy life. I don't have that many projects on the go, but I have lots of things that I want to do. And it's helpful, at least for me, that I have something that I know is a dedicated piece of time to do this. I'm really looking into, because one of the things I had mentioned before I want to get into is making patterns, and so I'm currently trialing out a pattern, so I'm working on it. So I created the pattern, and now I'm stitching it to see if it the colors make sense, the size, all that kind of stuff, that is the right thing. And then I have physical items that I want to make that I can maybe sell online or at like craft shows and things like that. And so it would be nice. What I want to do moving forward is almost have like certain days of the week be for certain things. So, obviously Tuesdays are for streaming, and then I'll probably have an extra day or 2 that will be like stitching catch up. So obviously that's like finishing these, finishing my frames, doing all that kind of stuff, so that my goal is to kind of only stitch, I guess, the quote unquote fun stuff on stream, because like I think, it's not necessary, but I think visually it's probably more interesting. What just happened here? To see like a creature or an object come together instead of just like a frame, but maybe that's me overthinking it. That's my thoughts. But yeah, so like 1 or 2 days a week to do that, and then have a day dedicated to patterning, pattern trialing, pattern creation, and then like physical product creation. And then, like just being an adult in life in and amongst all of that. It was really interesting. I watched a YouTube video a couple of days ago where this girl, one of the people I follow, Kelsey Dara, she used to work for BuzzFeed. Like, she has all this, her own stuff going on. I don't know. She's really cool. I like her. But she posted a video talking about agoraphobia and how she had to come home from a family holiday early because of that. And she was, talking about her experience with agoraphobia and, like, the sense of, like, I guess in a traditional sense, or in, like, yeah, like, there's certain depictions, like, when you hear agoraphobia, I think it's, like, people are afraid to go outside or something. But it's more nuanced than that. It's more complicated than that. And so she was talking about how for her, it's like that's why she struggles with flying, because it's like a sense of control where you don't know, like, if something happens, like, you're not able to leave. So it's this inability to escape a stressful or panic-inducing situation, which I thought was really interesting, because I was reflecting on what sort of unpacking my fears about going back into, like, a traditional working environment. Because, one, obviously, I was explaining last week, like, I don't think I could ever work retail again because, it's too people-y and COVID. But there's so many jobs now that are remote and remote working, and I think definitely that would be something that would work for me. And I think I was talking as well about, unfortunately, I don't kind of know, like, it's more about the environment and the people in a workplace for me as opposed to the actual job itself. I don't have anything right now that I'm, like, in a traditional corporate sense that I'm passionate enough about that I would, like, that would be my driving factor for doing work. It would be more the people. But in thinking about, like, this option and reading or, like, watching this video, it kind of made me think, like, talking about that control or that inability to escape or that inability to leave really resonated with me, because I feel like for me, at least right now, there's a lot of hesitation in addition to the people-y COVID stuff, is that if I were to join a quote-unquote traditional job or whatever that had, like, a hiring process and you had, like, your bankroll and you had whatever, like, all that kind of stuff, I feel very limited or anxious about the fact that there are only, like, a limited number of vacation days that you can take. So, like, God forbid I need to, like, rush back to Canada for whatever reason, and then it's like, oh, I can't because I don't have enough vacation days or something like that. Or, because I do have mental health days, that trusting that I'm able to call in for those reasons. And so that is more, I think, now, that's another thing that makes me nervous about traditional working environments. And yeah, so I think it's, like, that lack of control of being able to come and go when I want to, compounded with the guilt associated with if I did do those things. Because, you know, like, you're entitled to sick days, you're entitled to time off, you're entitled to whatever. But I think there's a lot, at least for me, because I struggle with, like, people pleasing and conflict avoidance and stuff like that. I don't want to inconvenience people, or I have a lot of guilt and there's that feeling of letting people down if I do call in sick, if I do have to take time off and go somewhere. Like, I'm so, I guess, like, loyal to a point of damage to my own mental health, if that makes sense. So yeah, like, it's sort of this conflict where it's this fear that I'm not going to be able to leave or take time off or do whatever because I don't have access to that, or the anxiety about having access to that but feeling guilty about taking that opportunity, if that makes sense. So I think if I've obviously had something that I was passionate about, and something like that might make it a bit easier. I don't know. But yeah, so we're trying the self-starter business lady crafting woman approach. And we'll see how that goes. Because I've wanted to do this for a while. Like, you know, like I talked about not having a traditional thing that I'm passionate about. I am passionate about crafting. I like, you know, patterns. I like I like crafts. I don't know. Like, I like crafts. And I like, you know, the joy it brings people to receive crafts or to, you know, create them themselves. And so, yeah, if that's something that I can work into some sort of part-time job, then that would be cool. And I think the main thing is that I'm only really accountable to myself. And that's something, like, it's hard. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because I also struggle sometimes with motivation and things. But I think maybe before, the reason why I've wanted to do this for a while but haven't, like, fully invested is I think, you know, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety about not being good enough or not knowing how to do things or whatever. But I think as I've obviously grown in my knowledge about crafting and grown in my knowledge about, like, I don't know, like, what people like about crafting, or, you know, the different avenues at which I could harness that, yeah, like, that, I don't know, I feel hopeful. I feel optimistic that this year will be different. It won't just be me, you know, speculating I want to do a thing and then not doing it, because that happens a lot. And yeah, I guess maybe, though, I need to reframe it and think about it like I was infamous at university for, you know, pumping out an essay at the last minute. But it never felt like the last minute because I was always, like, it was, but I was thinking about it. I was planning it. You know, you make, like, mind maps or whatever they're called. There you go, there's his little eyeballs. You can see him now. It looks like a little creature. What was I saying? I can't remember. About crafting and stuff. I got distracted by the Nightcrawler's little eyeballs. Ooh. Oh yeah, about doing essays. And, you know, because I didn't feel like it. So I feel like, you know, I've been in, what is it, the cycle of change. I don't know if you have ever done therapy, been taking classes about, you know, the cycle of change, where you're in, like, the pre-contemplative stage, the contemplative stage, the like action stage, and then I think there's like a reflection stage. It's usually within the context of addiction. Like I think that's where the cycle of change model sort of started, because there is a section for like relapse in this cycle of change, that you go through these changes, but there will be setbacks, but the idea is that it's a cycle, so you kind of keep going. So yeah, I feel like I was in maybe the pre-contemplative stage, the contemplative stage, and like now I feel like I'm moving more into an action stage because I'm actively doing the things, whereas before I was just doing a lot of thinking and theorizing and talking about the things. Helps to have an idea too. I think before, the concept of like making my own patterns scared me because I didn't know if I was good enough or if people were gonna like it, because you know, that's classic anxiety, self-doubt sneaking in. But then I had an idea that I thought would be really cool, and I think that helps if you have something that, like, you know, you believe in, that's generic enough that maybe other people might believe in it too. So that has been helpful. Whether or not, well, see, no, I'm not going to speak that into existence. I was going to talk about whether or not that was sustainable, but it will be sustainable. I will think of new ideas and cool ideas and clever ideas. I won't psych myself out like that, because I am want to do. Okay, first hour down. The whole thing crashed at one point, but we're still here doing the stuff. You're still here too. He's looking away from me right now. I think he gets like sensitive to noises. Or, you know, he just, yeah, wants to be left alone, but also like be near you. He's very like that. He's a very fickle boy. He has gotten more snuggly lately. But yeah, he'll do these things where it's kind of like, you know, I have separation anxiety and I don't want you to leave me, but also don't come near me. I want to be in the same room, but don't come give me attention because I'm going to look the other way. It's all good. To be fair, though, in his defense, I feel like if I'm having a nap, I don't want somebody coming up and like getting all up in my business either. So I respect that. Yeah, I do. He kind of looks like a, like, you know when you see divers and they do that position called like a pike? Kind of looks like he's in a pike stance. Not as much. Like there's some times where like his legs are just full up in front of him in full pike mode. They're not as bad this time. He kind of looks like a camel. Anyways, let's continue with our boy. Okay. We're reaching a point where we have a critical choice to make. Are we going to create his left leg first or his right leg first? I think because we're going back in this direction, it's going to be his right leg. And then we're going to do some highlight as well. So that will be fun. So we sort of have like the way that this all is going to play out is you sort of have like, I don't know, like Daddy Fresno Nightcrawler, Daddy Nightcrawler, and then there's going to be 2 baby Nightcrawlers. So this guy in the center is our Daddy Nightcrawler. It's a fun name. You can kind of, oh no, you can't really tell. Can you can like kind of very faintly see the line, the black line that connects the 2 eyes. Oh, wow. Oh, well, nothing we can do about that. It's fine. It's fine. I think it's hard because, like, I don't know, for the most part, especially depending on, like, the weave of your fabric, it doesn't kind of matter what the back looks like. So you can have things, like, scattering all over the place, but I do find with some of them, especially because this fabric is so light, to have, like, because there's these little dots kind of that go around this picture, and I kind of don't know, I don't know how I'm going to do them yet. Because I feel like because this fabric is so light, if I do some stitches here and then back, like, and do some stitches here and here, you'll see the lines that connect them all from behind the fabric. But maybe that doesn't matter. I'm not sure yet. I have not decided how I feel about the situation. Oh. Got some phantom tail wags over there. All right, we are starting his leg. I need to make sure that I don't just zip across this. Let me just do some. How many of these do we need? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Okay, we can do that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Cease. Ah, there's one at the end. Oh, we almost had to frog. I was like, wait a second. Because the, like, where the highlight on the inside of his legs start is in the center. So if I did all 6 into this, that would be in the center, and that would be incorrect, and we would have to frog. But I saved it. I saved it. I'm clearly still conscious. I'm having caffeinated tea today because I figured I needed the boost, and it must be helping because I didn't need to frog that exact moment, which is very, very good. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Hokely dokely. Boom. Done. Okay, so we did that. We will continue. See, he's got like thick boy thighs. These pants are thick. Ooh. Two, four, five. Cool. Whoa. What I might do after I run out of this thread, just to visually mess with myself, is maybe do the the highlights, the underpants, not underpants highlights. The shading of the legs of the haunted pants. That sounds better. Okay. Just to do something a little bit different. I always find that if I don't know, like when you're working on a color for too long, it just feels nice to switch it up every once in a while when you can. Especially this color because it's so light and it's on such a light background. It's good though because I feel like as we're creating the Nightcrawler, it's showing up much nicer. So it doesn't seem as light. The first few lines I did, I was like, I can't even really see this. But I think the depth of like multiple stitches together, the texture almost helps bring out the color. So it's not as confusing looking. The eyes help as well. Helps just like, I think, focus the camera too. So it's catching the colors, I think. I don't know anything about cameras. I took a photography class in university as an elective. That was interesting. So I vaguely remember stuff. If anything, we mostly just watched a lot of like films. I think the guy was also like a film teacher. He also made like, I don't know. He won't confirm anything, but I definitely think that he slept with students. And I think he made a show. He was like in one of our film festivals and he made like a film about that sort of topic matter. So I think it was a little bit autobiographical, but he couldn't say anything. He was a really cool guy though. Like he was really interesting and obviously like everybody would have been of age, but I don't know. But yeah, anyway, interesting class. We ended up watching, like a lot of films, and so a lot of movies I had never seen, but I like know of them because I watched a bunch of clips in them for different camera angles and different camera techniques. So I learned about like how Easy Rider was like the first film to include a flare shot in its camera use, and then it got used all the time and stuff like that. So that's a lot more what I remember about that class than like what an ISO setting is and like what the f-stop is. Like I know those terms, but like couldn't tell you if like a higher or lower one, like what it did to the picture. I feel like it was a lot of just like fuck around and find out. I think that's probably what a lot of like people who do photography do anyway. It's just like, just fuck around and find out. I'll have to ask my brother-in-law because he's a photographer, videographer. And he's very good at what he does. Don't know if I, like, with things like that, like with those kinds of creative things, even too, like even things as simple as like, oh, trying to understand like Photoshop and things like that. Obviously, as you use it and get used to it, that's fine. But things with like a steep learning curve, I'm finding that with like different music softwares and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have the sort of like fuck around and find out mentality because I'm so like, I have such perfectionist tendencies and I really like beat myself up about like not being good at something right away. I don't like, you know, I get so frustrated. Like, let's say like I'm trying to do a very specific thing, like with a photo editing software or like a music software or something like that, for instance. I'll Google, be like, I want to do this specific thing. And then they'll be like, get started. I'm like, no. Fuck that. How do I do this one specific thing that I want to do? I don't want to watch a 45-minute video to find this one bit of information. I just want you to give it to me. And that's not always how the internet works, especially if it's something so like niched and nuanced. It's like you probably would learn that in an intro tutorial. So I think it's a bit of patience on my part. Get in the hole. That's what she said. There we go. But yeah, so I definitely think there are those types of people that are like, I don't know, almost want to say like fiddlers, where you take a thing and you just kind of fiddle around with it to learn the mechanics of it. I think that's a lot of kinesthetic learners, is they learn by doing, they learn by like testing everything out. I know it's wrong, but to me that feels like a waste of time, where I'm like, I'm attempting to do this thing because I want to achieve a specific goal. And so therefore I need to do all the things in order to achieve it, and anything that doesn't, which isn't the healthiest, obviously. But so yeah, I really admire people who can do that. And I wish I had more patience to do stuff like that. I think that's why I like cross stitch, because it's very like rules based. And I know like that seems weird. I think embroidery intimidates me. I have an embroidery kit that I really want to try to do because I think you have a lot more flexibility with it. But I think in that flexibility, that is intimidating because yeah, like there's so many different ways to do something in embroidery. Whereas like with cross stitch, I'm like, it's a stitch. You can do like half stitches, quarter stitches, stuff like that, but it's like what you do is confined to squares. And squares make sense to me, and I can wrap my brain around squares. So, yeah, there's something like that sort of, I think that's probably the two pieces I get from my parents. We joked, like I joke that he's like Mr. Spock. So he's like my Spock dad, who always presents things, especially because I was a very emotional child. I'm still a very emotional child. So he was always very like calm, collected, composed, would sort of be the logic to my overly emotional self. Sorry, I'm just going to figure out what this next color is. 612. Okay. This one. Okay. But yeah, so I feel like that, I don't know if I get like, I guess I get the more emotional sort of stuff from my mom. But again, my dad is very logical, and I find that, you know, that doesn't extend to my emotions, but it definitely, what? Did I just get a new follower? Did my thingy work? Oh, I don't know if it did. I don't know. That's really exciting. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my god. My thingy's obviously not working. Hi, I'm making a, sorry, let me restart this. I'm working on the Cryptid Stitch Along by the Witchy Stitcher, and I'm currently working on the second of many, I don't know what the final count is, but the second of many cryptids, which is the Fresno Nightcrawlers, also known as Haunted Pants. There we go. I've reset this. Now I know what's going on. Sorry if it took me long to find you. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. So I'm just switching floss colors because I've been doing this like really kind of tone on tone thing for a while. And just to sort of switch things up and make things a little bit nicer, I'm actually going to switch. There we go. Switch sides so I have my chat on here, but I'm also going to keep my chat up on here just as a background thing. Because I don't trust my phone right now. But yeah, so I'm switching to do the sort of like shading portion of the Fresno Nightcrawler. The first one, the daddy Nightcrawler, Daddy Fresno. Because this is one of 3 that's going to appear on the page. And yeah. I guess to answer your second question, I'm also very good. Thank you. How are you? I am clearly very chaotic in my approach to this. Also, I have low latency down, so if it takes me a while, or it seems like it takes me a while to respond to what the chat is saying, it's just to make sure that my volume or my videos don't get like all encoded. I don't experience an encoding overload by OBS. So that's why everything is like from the point that I receive it to the point that you hear me respond to it is a bit more laggy. Anyways, I'm gonna work on this little shady part here. No, this is not working. Okay, we'll go back to this side of things. There we go. Because of the leg. Cool. There we go. Now I will attempt to I'm going to half stitch down the leg and then I'll re-stitch back up the other side and hope that doesn't confuse me. Oh, I feel like I spent like the first hour just like blah, 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 blah. So my throat's really sore. I feel like as I've gotten older, I do a lot less talking on my day-to-day life. Also because I don't go anywhere right now, obviously, because the world is shit, but I used to get written up all the time at school for talking in class, talking too much, talking too loud. I still do that when I get really excited and I tell stories. I think it's because usually, when you're talking with people or chatting, what I noticed was that it's usually like in restaurants or like in crowded places. And I noticed that if I can't hear myself, then I assume you can't hear me. So then I speak louder. But maybe people's hearing is better than mine, my internal hearing. I don't know. But yeah, so I've definitely noticed, like, I don't know if it's not that I have less to say. Obviously there's not as much happening in my life on a day-to-day basis, so I don't say as much, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I think I just got to get used to it again, because I clearly am able to fill, you know, an hour and a half of time with my voice. So, yeah, interesting. But saying that, my throat is sore. So I'm just gonna simmer down a little bit. Okay, so we've done this one, these two. Now we gotta do these 4. 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it look like much? Doesn't really. You can kind of see it. It kind of doesn't look like much now, but once I fill in the stitch, you'll obviously be able to see it a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So it's very exciting that I'm almost halfway to my goal of 10 followers. I am 1 follower shy of half. And then it's my 30th birthday this year. And so I think it would be really cool if I could get to affiliate for my birthday. I think that's my ultimate goal. Right now I'm still like keeping a relatively low profile in terms of like self-promotion, I guess, because I'm still just getting the hang of this and wanting to kind of make sure that it's sustainable for me. Though I am very excited about it. I feel like I'm really enjoying every time I come on, and yeah, like it just, I don't know, like I'm really excited about it. But I had mentioned previously, I have a habit of making these massive declarations of projects that I'm doing. Like, I'm gonna commit to such and such time and day and this and this and that. And then it's almost like after I make the big declaration, I then either get disenfranchised or I get frustrated or I like get annoyed at like my lack of progress or something like that. And I don't want that to happen with this. So I'm trying to do the opposite of what my instinct tells me to do, which may sound a little bit counterintuitive because obviously if you're trying to make it as a content creator, one of the facets of that is promoting yourself. And I will get there. That will happen. But right now I'm gonna, just like keep to myself a little bit longer. But yeah, my goal is 10 by the end of the month. But definitely, if not that, then affiliate by my birthday, which is 50. But I'm gonna attempt, I'm gonna try to do a little bit more promotional grinding in February. That's, I've given myself a month to get used to what I'm doing, like figure out what's going on, get my settings sorted, do all of that, and then then it'll be the big old promo time, which is very exciting. But yeah, so that's the game plan. Additionally, so this isn't going to happen every time, but I've sort of
arranged my schedule around my partner's work schedule. So on the days that, that's just what I've done. So, in a fun little surprising turn of events, well, not really. I think it might be more of a mainstay thing, but at least once a month, I think I'm going to also stream on Fridays. Same time, I think 3 to 5 is working for me. So I'm still going to do that. But yeah, like I think, so this Friday, I'm going to stream, I think I'm going to stream for, similar time, another couple hours. And that will hopefully happen every month. So you'll get me every Tuesday, guaranteed, 3 to 5, with the occasional Friday during the day stream. And then I still need to work out sort of evening stuff. That's something I'll still... I did a stream on Thursday night. I think that might still be an option, but I'm still working it out. There we go. So you can see we did our little Fresno pants highlights. You can sort of see the trajectory of where he's going to end. So sort of here is where his foot is. And then here is his thick boy thighs. And so we'll continue down this route. Because I don't have to go back again. I think I'll make full stitches all the way down. Make sure I know what it is that I'm doing. Okay. What are you doing, bud? He's such a sleepy boy. Sleepy shadow. That's definitely another emote idea. I definitely think I need to incorporate shadow into the mix. Because basically he's always going to be here on stream days. I think if I do evening streams, he might hang out with my partner instead. But I will have him for all of my daytime streams. So I feel like he should be represented. And what better way than with his own emote? Could do a sleepy shadow emote. I'm always thinking too, I don't know if that's like if I'm overthinking it, but sometimes I'm thinking about, okay, in what context one would use one of these. Because usually they're designed like to give you certain emotions, right? So like when you're angry, here's like an angry specific emote that is related to like your the Twitch streamer that you follow or something. So I'm aware of something that I think might be a cute idea, like how will that be used? So that's something to think about. But maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know. Maybe people will invent the uses for them. Maybe you just like, you know, with when people create art, you put it out into the world, and how people co-opt and use it is completely up to them. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe people will benefit from having more blatant context for the use of things. That seems weird. I'm not going to tell you how to use your emotes. That seems like a controlling thing to do, but should at least have an idea of like what the intended purpose of them would be, right? I think. This is just my theoretical ramblings on how one twitches. How doth one twitch? I would like to know. Now this looks a little funny. It just looks like those are his legs. The highlights are his legs, and he's just kind of like a little massive head and some tiny little stick legs. It's like, you know, when you are really invested in drawing something and then towards the end when you just want to get it done. That's the vibe this gives me. Or like if I finished the pants on this side, it kind of looks like a bell. And then like, you know how bells obviously have the little dangly bits that have the metal in it that make the bell noise? That's what this kind of looks like too. This is just a mirror image of what's happening on this side, so I could be using that for reference and not be, you know, thinking so intensely the whole time. Wonder what caused that whole thing to drop out earlier. I'm not sure. There we go. I just want to make sure that this is lining up. Yes. It's just because it's... Sometimes it looks like it's lined up, and then obviously you match the actual row on the linen, and it's like, no, actually, no. But in this case, it has. Okay, I anticipate we're going to be playing some floss chicken in a second, so I really hope we can get... 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 stitches out of this last little bit. I think we can. I believe in us. Let's do it. Make sure we're in the frame. I feel like I'm doing a lot of this, and it's like, no, you got to see what I'm doing. There we go. It forces me to do this. It'd be really interesting. I actually have an eye test on Thursday, so I'm anticipating that I might need a stronger prescription, because maybe not for this stuff, though I'm sure it'll help, but I find like far away images, like far away signs and stuff, I just notice like when I'm walking shadow that it takes a lot, like I need to get a lot closer to them before they stop appearing fuzzy. And then I remember I read up about this, but I really struggle with like night driving, because I guess not everybody's eyes do this, but there's different eyes where like if it's pitch black out and let's, for instance, you see like a street light or you see a headlight. When I look at them, I get a lot of like, I don't know if it's like sounds like a word, I don't know if it's real, but like fractal pulling. So like the light will be here, but I'll see like almost rays jutting out of the light itself. And so when you have street lights and headlights and all the different like lights of town against that background, it just looks like a bunch of streaming lines of light, and I find it really like distracting and really hard to focus on driving. And I know that that's like I forget what it is. It's something, you know how eyes have like cones and rods? I remember like learning about this shit in science class years ago. But certain things, like the way that your eye shape, it like reflects the way that the light bounces off of it. So that's why sometimes it's stringy or sometimes it's not or whatever. So whatever way my eye is, that's what it does. So I'm hoping that I can get, one, if I need it, a stronger prescription, and two, a lens of some kind that will help me with night driving. Because I think it's like polarized lens. So you can get polarized lens. I think I got them with my sunglasses, because they were like, oh, like for light, you know? And I was like, obviously it's only when it's sunny out. Like my dumbass didn't think about, like, yeah, all the street lights and things. So my sunglasses are great in the daytime for the sun, but obviously I can't wear those at night. I'm not Corey Hart, if you get that reference, that obscure Canadian musician reference from the 80s. Good for you. But yeah, so hopefully that will also get rectified in that time. But I'm wondering if I get ones, stronger ones, that it might allow me to see the teeny tiny cross-stitch holes from further away, so I'm not having to do this all the time. And that would probably make for a nicer viewing experience for everyone. And it's probably healthier for me as well. But we'll see. It was interesting because I had an intake, because obviously, like, this is just the time we live in. They got to call and make sure that you're experiencing no symptoms of the pandemic. And so, these need to go in. Yeah, so they asked that, and then the woman was telling me, the intake lady was telling me about something called an OCT scan. So I guess you have your initial optometry eye test, which is what I guess the optometrist will look at scans or look at things as look at your eyeballs themselves. And then there's something called an OCT scan, which is, I guess, like almost like an optical ultrasound, but instead of using sound waves, they use light, and it scans your eyeball and scans the layers of tissue. Because I'm saying, I think you have like 5 layers of tissue on your eye. And so this scan apparently can detect potential eye issues for like up to 4 years earlier than what like the optometrist could notice with his naked eye. So I guess like a lot of, I don't know, like eye related diseases and shit like that, sometimes I guess optometrists can't notice it unless it's already like quite severe, which makes sense, obviously. Like if there's a small minute thing happening, like, you know, the size of a pinprick on your eyeball, if it's like, you know, 5 tissues deep, of course the optometrist is going to see that, but I guess this ultrasound can. So yeah. And then she was also saying like, oh, you know, it'll be a scan and then you get to take it home, take, you know, a copy home. I'm like, oh cool, I get to take home a scan of my eyeball. That might be fun. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to know, because I think that's like an additional cost, and you know, I don't know if this is like some newfangled thing and whether or not like our insurance would cover it, but I don't know. Be interesting. If it's not like hella expensive, I think I might do it and just pay out of pocket for it if it's not covered. Because I think she said it was just like an extra £15 on top of what I'm already paying for the eye test, which is like nothing. But if I misheard it and it's actually not that, I don't want to agree to it and then be like, actually, it's this. I remember that happened to me once before where I think it was my phone case cracked. Yeah, my phone was cracked or something like that, and I needed to get a new screen or something. Or no, it was new battery. And the guy was like, yeah, it's only going to cost like, and it sounded like he said like £9-10. And I was like, sweet, like that's amazing. And then I went to go pick it up and they were like, that's like £40. And I'm like, what? So I don't know if either I was the dum-dum or he was the dum-dum. But that's why, you know, that it will be reiterated to me during my appointment how much this OCT scan is. And then I can confirm in real time whether or not I want to take them up on that. Okay, I believe... Oh, this is the tiniest little thread. It's going to be such a pain in the ass to tuck afterwards. But we made all of the stitches. Oh, God. I'm going to struggle with this. I actually have a threader, so that might be helpful. Because basically, I have to take this tiny little piece of so-and-so thread it into the needle and then pull it through the back of the threads. And, oh, that's real tight. It's obviously not long enough that I can thread the needle first. So I have to, like, I don't know, I might be able to get away with it if it's not too frayed. Oh, I got the first one. Okay, let's try to get the other one. Then and the worst too is when you get the first one in and then trying to get the second one in, you end up pulling out the first. That's the worst. Okay. Come on. So much concentration. I'm smacking my head on the webcam. Okay, sorry. This is... kind of reminds me of, like, you know, when, I don't know, for those of you, if you wear mascara or you do, like, eyeliner and putting that on, and then the faces that your mouth makes. Okay, I almost pulled out the second one. Okay, we're gonna consult the threader and see if that helps. Because the other thing, too, is when the thread, like when the needle hole is too small for the threader to fit through, then that's not helpful. Okay, so this is basically, it's like this little loopy guy, and you stick it through the needle, and then stick the thread through that, and then pull it out through the needle. And then, do I want to risk taking the first one out that we did? No, I won't. Okay. So it's in there now. Oh, no, now it's not. Get in there. Okay. So that's in there. And then we're gonna see, and then we gotta get other needles involved. It's like a minor surgery. This is a chonky boy too. Okay, no. This one, and then we're gonna very carefully lift this thread or push it through the threader. Okay, and then pull it. Whoo! There we go, did it. Boom. Should have done that from the start. And then you just pray that it doesn't slip out when you pull this through. There we go. Boom. Done. Perfect. Thank you, threader. I will leave you down here because we might need you. Okay. I don't even really need to snip off the ends, but we're going to do because they're hella frayed. Okay. Cool. So we have about 4 minutes left on our stream. We did good, team. Except for the part where, you know, the first 10 minutes of my stream, my mic was on mute. But we're learning. Okay. So we will thread back. We'll get this. We'll get everything sorted. We'll get everything sorted to continue on with these pants. And then yeah, I think I'm going to stream on Friday around the same time, 2 to 5. And then I think I'll finish I'll finish Daddy Nightcrawler because he shouldn't take too long. And then we will do the baby Nightcrawlers on Friday. I think that's a good plan. I don't want to set up like a confirmed... I don't know, because I've been setting up my stream schedule and all of the things are like, oh, do you want to have a continuous whatever. And I'm like, no. But it almost seems like you have to. So, I don't know. I'll fuck around with it. Maybe I'm just not reading everything properly. But yeah. So we'll do that on Friday. And then on the following Tuesday, hopefully, if I get my shit together, we can start the next cryptid. Who is the next cryptid? Let me check. Maybe that's what we'll do. Let's assess based on this. I think the Enfield Horror is the next one. I don't remember what he looks like. What does he look like? Oh yeah, he kind of looks kind of Yeti-esque. He kind of looks like a... You know what he looks like, actually? I don't know if you remember... Oh god, I'm not going to know what they are specifically. But the... It's in Star Wars. I think it's maybe what the Ewoks look like before they, like, take off their cloaks and stuff. I remember my brother had, like... It was almost like a Dude Polly Pocket from McDonald's. And it's basically, like, a brown cloak, black, like, shadow face with, like, beady little red eyes. Or beady, like, kind of glowing eyes. That's kind of the vibe of this Enfield Horror face. But, like, cuter. And less menacing looking. Oops. But yeah. So we'll do that. So I'll see you guys Friday at 3. And we'll do Daddy Nightcrawler's Little Babies. But until then, I'll finish this off. We'll say ta-ta for now from me and Shadow. Shadow. Hi, Bubba. Hello. You say bye-bye to everyone. Let's say see you Friday. Okay, you go back to sleep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disturb you. All right. Okay. Yes. Let's get to 10 followers by the end of the month. And if you want to, subscribe, stick around, whatever. Shadow's at Shadow the Sight Hound. His Instagram's more poppin' than mine. Mine is Teas and Trees, please. But I'm hoping to switch it to Nostalgia Tash just to keep everything cohesive. Because I had a YouTube page, Nostalgia Tash, that I'm shutting down. So I'm going to steal that name back once that one deletes itself at the end of the month. It's so dumb. When you want to delete something, I was like, I want to delete this page. And they were like, okay, cool. We'll give you until the end of the month. And then we'll delete it. I'm like, just fucking delete it now. But I guess I don't really think I'm going to have delete remorse. Whatever. So hopefully somebody doesn't snatch it in between that one being deleted and me claiming that back for myself. But anyway, so yeah, that's us. And I think that's everything. I'm going to finish this guy off screen and we'll see you Friday. Bye.